How is everybody? I wanted to go over something about my cards. I don't talk too much about what I did involved, what was involved with doing the decks. So I thought I would go over a couple of these things. And I thought I would start with this, with my one JJ Swiss and what I did with that deck. And so I thought it'd be helpful. I've made a few versions of it. I had it out there with the flip box. Then I went to the double two-piece box like this. And I went with smooth stock, which is myplayingcards.com is who I use to do my cards. And any of their stocks is good to me. And I took a lot of time to find a printer who I felt their card stock was going to be what I wanted. And I found them and I'm happy with them. So the standard stock is what I usually use. And it's what I use in my Tarot Marseille Black Keys by Patici and my classic Tarot Marseille. Use a smooth stock, standard stock, got a nice slide, cards are great. And I did that with, initially I did it with my Swiss deck too. Then I went to a satin or a linen stock. And I thought, no, I don't want the linen stock. I'm going to go back to the smooth stock. And now I decided I'm going to go back with the linen stock. Now the cards are linen stock again. And they have a good slide to them too, but a little bit different about what I like about them is they're more flexible with this. And they're all good, but there's just more of a slide with that linen stock. So we'll try that for a while. Whatever you got with my deck, it's good. I hope you're happy with it. It's better than the original. So I think you'll be happy with that. If you have the original Swiss like this, it's a great deck. It's a classic, but the stock is a standard stock for the time, and it slides. It's okay. It's a good deck, but I think that's a newer stock that we're using now is a little bit better. So I think you will like it too. Anyway, I wanted to go over some things that I did with this that maybe I don't really advertise with it. The way I did this deck was I took the card and I removed all the color out of the cards. So a card like this, and I would remove all the color. So there's nothing but the black in the card after that. And then I would go in and add new color. I added my own palette, a different palette to what I thought would be more for the times. So you can see the difference here. So this is with my palette versus the old palette. So it's a little bit of a different look. And I think it's more of a modern palette. Instead of the primary colors, we have of red, blue, green. My colors are off. That they're shifted in a way that I think is more appealing for today. I also added a background on all the cards. There's a shaded edge on the card. And it helps the center really pop out at you. And I think that that was a nice effect. I don't know if you're really seeing it here, but it really looks nice on the table. Just a subtle shaded edge on those cards, on the edges, where the center of the card has more of a lighter hue to it. And it's subtle, but it's there. And you can see it a lot better when you see it when you see it up close. So it's a different palette. And I have, instead of a paper white background, like you would normally have, I have a toned, an actual cream color background instead of this paper white look like this. I didn't want to go with that. I wanted to go with something a little bit more different. I do that with all my decks. I don't use paper white. So here you have the standard 8 of swords. And here is my 8 of swords. It has more depth to the cards. I think it does. You know, I was going through the whole deck. There's a lot of little corrections in here that I did that you might not even notice if you didn't know the original deck. And I was in that business for many years, so I knew what to do with those. You can see the difference. Now, another thing I did with this deck is the smaller, the original Marseille, the original Swiss is a lot, is smaller than a standard tarot deck. I brought the Swiss up to the standard size of a tarot deck that commonly used by most other decks. This is a little smaller. So I enlarged it up to the standard size. Also, the one thing I never liked with the 1JJ was the Juno and Jupiter, JJ, instead of the High Priestess and the Hierophant. I never cared for Juno and Jupiter. And I remember even when I first got the deck as a teenager, I didn't like that. I was disappointed with it. But I've used the deck and I've accepted that and I just used it. And I've used it many times. And it works fine that way with Juno and Jupiter, if you're, But I thought, well, if I'm going to make this deck over, I'm going to leave those cards in there. But I'm also going to change or give an alternative card to that. So the standard deck, you have Juno and Jupiter. Instead of the Hierophant, you have Jupiter. And instead of the High Priestess, you have Juno. And they are in here as well, my deck. But I also added a High Priestess and a Hierophant. So my deck has 80 cards to it. Actually, the deck has 82 cards because I've also added an instruction card there showing the card meanings and one card in there showing how to do a Celtic cross. So my deck has the Hierophant or Jupiter. So my deck has Jupiter, just like the original, but it also has a Hierophant. They're both number 5. You can use them both, or you can take one out and leave the other in. The same is going on here with the High Priestess and the Hierophant. I mean, the High Priestess and Juno. So that's my creation for a High Priestess. And that's my creation for the Hierophant. And I made them where they would match the rest of the deck. So nothing looks out of place. I use the same back. I just made mine a darker color. The backs are the same. But I wanted to go over some of the little things that I did here. I wanted to show the difference side by side here. You can see my palette is different. So on my cards are out on the left here. Here we have the Ace of Wands. Then next to it is the standard size JJ Swiss with their palette, with the original palette. And then next to that, we have a Rider-Waite deck, Ace of Wands, just to show you that the sizes are on the new size of the Swiss is the same size as the regular Rider-Waite deck. But this shows you the difference in the palette as far as the two decks, mine and the original. Also put a round border on mine cards instead of the square cut border, because cards are not square cut anymore. So I made a border that would fit that and make it look right. And you can see here with the Fool, the how that background is brighter in the center than it is on the edge. It's the same background on all 78 cards or 80 cards, but it shows more depending on what the card is, how much image is in the card will show how much background is going to be coming through in the center. The palette's consistent, and yeah, I think it's to me it's a better palette. Here again, some Knight of Swords. Mine, then the original, and the Rider on the right. What I did here with the Two of Pentacles is this ribbon on the original, this yellow ribbon, has a blue end on one side and a red end on the other. But that ribbon is supposed to be showing one side. It's supposed to be showing the same side. So why would it be blue and red? I decided to just make it all one color. And I decided to make things a little bit less busy in the center of those coins. To me, it worked out better. So little changes like that. It's still the same deck and you know it at a glance, but they are different. One thing I thought was interesting here is also I had the original deck is narrower. So if you look over here, this little house in the death card, it's right at the edge of the card in the center, the original card. Where on mine, I actually had to put an end on that house and extend the land. Also, you'll see his sickle is not right at the edge of the card like it was in the original, because the card's wider now. One thing you'll find interesting here with something like the death card is and I know why this happened. You have, I wanted to show the outlining here. The one on the right is the original. And you can see that the ribs are not, the background, you should be able to see through those ribs. Well, when they outline, whoever outlined this skeleton back and whenever they did this deck, when they reproduced it, probably in the 60s, they didn't go in to take the time to outline each rib. It would have taken another hour or so to do that, probably. They were working with film back then. So whoever did this thought, well, nobody's going to notice. And they just made a solid base for his chest. Where with computers now, it's easy to go in and outline the ribs separately and put more detail in there. So what I did on the left here, you could see is more precise. Also, I helped this deck in ways that might not be noticeable unless you really look at it. The one on the right is with the primary colors. That's this original Temperance card here. And if you look at her right eye, she got a black eye. So I got rid of the black eye. And if you look at her right arm, the way there's a lot of busy things going on there in that right arm. It's actually two angles of that arm. So you see below the lip of the brown urn, you'll see her elbow is down, her forearm and elbow is behind that lip. But the angle of her arm is not correct for that. And so they just didn't even know how to color that in. They just left it white. And so I redrew that or recreated it over here on the left. And you can see the bottom of that lip now of the urn doesn't have a forearm or some other busyness there, whatever there is gone. I cleaned that up and I made her arm look more realistic. And you can see the length of the sleeve there is longer on that one because I got rid of that arm. So little things like that are things that probably most people would never really notice. If you look at her leg here, I fixed her leg up. I didn't like this line going through here. And obviously, like I said, the black eye, maybe she drank too much of this hooch. She's born. Got in a bar brawl. She forgot the duck. So she got a black eye there. And so we got rid of that. Anyway, little things like that is what I did with this deck. So the deck's 80 cards plus 2 instruction cards, so it's a total of 82 cards. It is now a linen finish. Some of the decks I've sold were linen finish before. Some of them are just straight standard smooth stock. They're both good, but this is what they're going to stay now. It's going to be the linen finish. And they're standard size. And with that shaded background, that edge on there, I really was happy with the way that turned out. So with the palette, I like the palette. I like that edge, that shaded background, and they really look nice on your table. So anyway, 1 JJ Swiss by Patici. Or I don't know what I got this titled. Yeah, 1 JJ Swiss by Patici. With a richer palette and optional High Priestess and Hierophant card. That's what I got. Box like this. And you're all set to go. I'll make another video about my Marseille deck. How I went about creating that. And that might be interesting too. Some of you might be wanting to create your own deck. If you are thinking about doing that, I would say, look at what I looked around with. I was in the printing industry for 30 years. So I was very familiar with this process, pre-press and printing. And so I wanted to find a good printer and a good card stock and supplier. And myplayingcards.com are excellent. I was very happy with their work. And if there's a problem, they're right on top of it. Matter of fact, they're more on top of my work than I am. They'll tell me, well, this doesn't look right. maybe you should change this to this. This doesn't, they're on top of it. And they've been very helpful. And their quality is great. So myplayingcards.com or MPC. That's who prints my work. And so try them out if you're thinking about deck. Anyway, just thought I'd mention that. Thought I would write something about it or talk about this deck. I really am happy with the way well, I'm happy with all my decks, but I was happy. Really wanted to mention I was really happy with the way the 1JJ Swiss turned out with that palette and the background color looks good. And I've been using it now for a while. You'll like it. The 12th of July is our next Zoom meeting, second Tuesday of the month. And I'm looking forward to seeing you if you come. You can get my cards at the international store in my website. It's an international store in the menu, the upper part of the website. And you can also get to the Zoom meeting in the tarot gatherings in the menu that day on the 12th. Free. All are welcome to come. You got any questions about the tarot you'd like to ask some pros about? We have pros there. We have novice readers. We have everybody's welcome. Just a bunch of people there that are coming together to share ideas with the cards. And so come on by and say hello. Anyway, keep throwing cards. We'll talk soon.